Church, if Shaq can't even stick to one reason as to why he left Kirsten on decision day, exactly how does he expect any of us to truly understand? I've got my notes, I hope y'all got yours. Let's get on into this reunion-based mess. Can y'all hear me out there? Listen, to my returning church members, baby, welcomes. And to all my new people, please, baby, please, make sure to smash that subscribe button and to also click that bell notification so you are notified every time I decide to upload a video. Now, baby, listen, my outfit and my spirit today, honey, is giving reunion tease, honey, appropriately. Now, listen, for this outfit, I channeled my inner Shaq, okay? But Shaq, please take notes because this, honey, this is how you do, abstract art tease, honey, without looking like a damn clown conductor for the Universal Circus, okay? Listen, I'm giving y'all high-class abstract art tease, honey. I'm giving y'all Basquiat tease, honey. I'm giving y'all Andy Warhol-based tease, okay? Listen, it might be a little bit busy for some of y'all, but listen, fashion is supposed to be subjective, okay? So everybody not gonna like it, but I like it, and I think it's giving what it needs to give, okay? Listen, fashion should be fun, okay? And if it makes you laugh, if it makes you cry, if it makes you feel something inside, then it's done its job. At its core, art is supposed to make you feel something. So if it made you feel anything in terms of seeing my outfit, baby, or any of these people's outfits down to this reunion, then it did its damn job, all right? Now let's get on into our, main course here because we got a lot to discuss in this part one of this reunion, y'all. Now listen. Y'all know when we get started, we got to start with some hot topics, okay? And because it's the reunion, we got to start with these damn fashion looks, baby, okay? We got to talk about these looks, okay? And see who was best dressed and who just looked a mess, all right? Now, let's start with the men. Now, quick disclaimer, y'all. None of the men were dressed badly, okay? Everybody was classy, sophisticated, suited and booted. They looked good, okay? But in going with that, everybody, in my opinion, they kind of played it safe. There were really no crazy winners in terms of best dressed or whatever. Everybody pretty much looked the same, in my opinion. But there was one person I'm going to give the award to for most unique, and we'll get into that in a second, right? So let's start with Chris, right? Now, y'all know what my favorite thing to always say is about, Chris, okay? Chris looked like he going to work. He always looked like he going to work, and people think I'm shading him over that. I am not, okay? Listen, Chris is some sort of consultant or some sort of business consultant. He always looks suited, booted, classy, sophisticated, clean cut. There's nothing wrong with it, okay? He was wearing this, brown suit with this black shirt. It looked very classy, very sophisticated. I did like the little, touch of something different in terms of his footwear, in terms of, I love when the men wear the loafers instead of like the traditional dress shoes, right? They wear either the three-quarter pants or the pants that are not, necessarily down to the floor, and they wear that whole low sock look or no sock look with the loafers. So I thought that was really nice. So good job, Chris. Now moving on to Clint. Clint wore a traditional three-piece suit, and y'all, I just love a three-piece suit, okay? It's one of my favorite suit types to wear. It's one of my favorite suit types to see. But listen, after coming off of the high that I was on with, Clint's outfit down to decision day, I was kind of let down by his three-piece suit. There was nothing, clinically wrong with it. It looked like it fit well. It was a three-piece suit. It looked like it was cut well. It just seemed a little boring, and I think it might just be because of the color. Like, we're used to Clint being a little bit more bold, taking a little bit more chances in terms of, his outlandish personality translating to his choices. But this one, it just seemed a little bit pedestrian. Not bad by any stretch of the imagination, just, not really memorable. Now, y'all, let's move on to Shaq, okay? And let's talk about his outfit. Now, listen. Shaq, anything would be an improvement after your damn, decision day look where you look like a conductor down to the Universal whole circus, okay? Listen, I'm gonna give you the award for most improved, okay? Because anything other than that damn clown-based outfit is an improvement, okay? So good job, Shaq. Shaq was wearing this, like, you know, solid gold suit with a black shirt. But, you know, listen, in my mind, because I always got to give people just a little bit of pushback, it was a little bit too much gold for me, honey. You look like a solid gold statue heading down to the damn Soul Train, okay? To do a little dance in the Soul Train line for the people, okay? But you look good. And I love when you saw the close-ups of, you know, Shaq talking to Kevin. Like the suit material, it looked like it was made out of this really nice material. It didn't look cheap at all. It looked, you know, fairly expensive, fairly high quality. Because sometimes with them gold suits, it can look like a trip down to, you know, the 99-cent store based on where you get it from. So listen, most improved, we gonna give it to Shaq, even though you look like a, you know, a gold statue about to go down to the Soul Train line, okay? Now let's move on to Mac. Mac, I'm going to say the same thing that I said for Chris, okay? You look like you was going to work as well, okay? Which is kind of shocking for you because don't you work down to the cannabis business? So shouldn't you already be on a high in terms of, you know, finding something otherworldly to wear or something, you know, not off the cuff, but, you know, out of the stretch of the normal imagination to wear. It was a nice suit. It was cut well. I think the thing I liked about it the most was the color. It was like this electric blue thing that really popped. You know, I love that electric blue. It's a really fire color. It looks really well on camera, okay? So the suit color was great, but, you know, there's not really much I can say. You looked great. It just wasn't memorable, you know, just like most of these outfits in terms of the men, okay? Now, Airris, I'm going to give you the award. Like I said, I was going to give out the award for most unique, okay? Because although the men's looks were, you know, pretty much pedestrian in this reunion or whatever, I felt like Airris's was the one that took just a little bit more chances. You know, it had the, you know, the two-tone type suit, you know, going on with the, you know, slight pinstripe look down the pants in terms of like that white piping. You know, I didn't personally like the sneakers with it, but I know, like, you know, these days people is mixing like the, you know, the high class or the high dress items in terms of suits with sneakers. I would have wore like a Chelsea boot or something with it instead, but, you know, that's personal preference. But I think out of the sea of normalcy that we saw for the rest of the men, Airris kind of shone as a light in them. So it wasn't my favorite look. I can't say any of these looks were really my favorite, but I'm going to give Airris the award for most unique and therefore best dressed, in my opinion, for the men. Okay, now let's move on to the women, honey. Let's talk about the women. Now, Nicole, listen, Nicole tries so hard when it comes to the fashion. And, you know, sometimes she gets it right. Sometimes she gets it wrong. Nicole, the dress was a bit forgettable for me. And the thing that was really bothering me the most about it was the color, okay? I don't know why y'all love these Pepto-Bismol based colors so much, okay? You was looking like a bottle of Pepto-Bismol down to the color, okay? And that's the part that was sending me. You know, it was a nice dress. It was flattering to your body. It was kind of forgetful, but I didn't really like the color, okay? And that's just personal preference. Y'all let me know if y'all like Nicole, you know, Pepto-Bismol based dress, okay? Now let's move on to Gina. Now Gina was my second favorite, okay? And y'all know she was my favorite down to Decision Day with that green dress she wore. But on here, you know, Gina was giving me very Sofia Vergara type vibes, okay? You know, I love the red dress against her skin. I love the high slit. I just thought she looked, you know, really amazing with the earrings and the tousled hair. It just looked very, very nice. She was my second favorite and my second favorite best dress for the women, okay? Kirsten, listen, I think, Kirsten, I think yellow is your color, girl, okay? I really loved how the yellow shone against your skin, creating that beautiful contrast. You looked golden, okay? You weren't my favorite look, but you weren't my worst look of the group, okay? It was like a solid middle look. Kirsten looked like some version of a Disney princess mixed with a girl going down to the club for the 99s to the 2000s with the cutouts, okay? It was like the perfect combination of classy and ratchet based at the same time, okay? It gave you a little bit of Disney princess and a little bit of going to the club, and I thought it really suited her and it really suited her body, right? And the hair was really pretty with it, and I loved that the back was out because, you know, Kirsten has a nice back in terms of, you know, the proportions of it and in terms of how the dress accentuated that, okay? Now let's move on to Dom, okay? Listen, because we have a best dressed, means that we have to have a worse dressed, okay? And I'm not going to say Dom was the worst dressed, but she was my least favorite look. Okay, now y'all may be saying, Dom wore the same color that Gina wore down to the damn decision day. Yes and no. Okay, that royal emerald green, it looks very nice. It's a very poppy type color. The diamondy type embellishment was like pretty cool and drew your eyes to it. But there was just something about Dom's dress that just gave ill-fitting, okay? I don't know if it was actually ill-fitting. I don't know if that was the effect it was supposed to give. But I think sometimes, the girls with the bountiful bosoms, okay? Listen, y'all know I be trying with my, pecs here, move them together, make them look bigger and stuff. But the girls that have the actual, these bountiful bosoms, listen, Dom, I understand why the men is in your damn DMs talking about, will you show us your breast or send us some breast pictures, okay? Because listen, you are a brick house as it relates to your chest area, all right? But sometimes the girls with the bountiful bosoms have to work a little bit harder in terms of finding a dress that accentuates all of the positives as well, right? Because to me, I think she was going for an old Hollywood glamour, dripping diamonds type thing, but it kind of just looked like a top-heavy dress that didn't accentuate anything other than that on her body, okay? So, not my favorite look for Dom and not my favorite look amongst all the women, but she was presentable. Okay. She was presentable. The diamonds, the rhinestones, the cubic zirconias, whatever it was cubic zirconiing or diamonding or rhinestoneing. Okay, listen, I'm not trying to give shade. I just felt like the dress was a little bit ill-fitting and it could have fit her better. Sometimes you have to kind of target two key areas in terms of what are your strong suits, right? Do you have long legs? Accentuate those. Do you have big breasts? Accentuate those. And I think the dress was kind of one note in terms of accentuating her chest area and leaving everything else by the wayside, okay? And last but not least, y'all, listen. Jasmine, okay? Jasmine ate the girls down, okay? Jasmine was my favorite look by far, okay? That slim corset top with that long flowing dress, honey, the bone straight Naomi Campbell base hair, the nice little, pearl diamond looking earring type thing. It looked amazing, okay? I don't think I've seen Jazz look, this amazing all damn season, okay? She ate everybody up, in my opinion. Jazz was my favorite look by far, okay? Ate everybody up. So good job, Jazz, because listen, you shed a whole bunch of tears in this first part of the reunion. We finna get into that. So at least listen, if you look good, you feel good, okay? So at least when you was crying, girl, you was beat down to the floor, okay? Listen, if I'm gonna be sad, at least I look good while I'm sad, okay? Now, y'all, let's move on to our actual, reunion stuff. And if y'all like my fashion reviews, just, drop down in the comments and let me know that you do. And I'll try to do some more of them as it relates to these shows that I review from time to time, okay? Now, let's move on to our next hot topic, and let's talk about Fallon, or Fallina. Y'all drop down. Is the lady named Fallon or Fallina? Because I thought her name was Fallon. They said down to the show, Kevin said Fallina. Y'all decide and y'all let me know. But let's talk about Airris apologizing for his cousin, right? And her behavior. So y'all know I call Fallina or Fallon, to me, I call a hack, okay? And that means that's Airris's hating ass cousin, okay? H-A-C, hack, okay? Now listen, Fallon was basically a fool in the eternal words of Selena Johnson this season, okay? These couples already have enough against them as it relates to trying to find commonalities, as it relates to marrying somebody at first sight, as it relates to trying to make it work with somebody that you don't know that was matched for you, okay? And so your role as a family member, as a person peripheral to the damn experiment, is to just support. You may feel a ways about it. You may not, go up for it, but you shouldn't go out of your way to kind of throw salt in their game, okay? And I think that's why people don't really rock with Fallon in terms of, what she brought to the show and kind of the energy she brought, especially as it relates to Jasmine, okay? So listen. Airris apologizes for her cousin, and we see some, behind the scenes events in terms of some never before seen footage in terms of Airris, basically defending his cousin and her actions, right? Now listen, y'all know I stay on TikTok, okay? And recently I was in TikTok University, which is what I call anything that I learned down to social media, Facebook, Instagram, whatever. But I was in TikTok University, and there was this professor lady. If I could find her name, I'll link it. But if I can't, it was just a professor down at TikTok. And she was talking about, gaslighting, right? And I think we all know what gaslighting is, but she kind of broke it down in a way that was just so interesting, right? She said gaslighting is actually a two-step process, okay? And the first step of gaslighting is I have to deny your reality, okay? And what did Airris do in that moment in terms of the flashback that we saw, okay? Fallon never called you fake, okay? That's what he said. He said, Fallon never called you fake. And everybody was looking at him like, what the hell is he talking about? Fallon never called her fake. Listen, y'all will have to drop down in the comments and let me know if Fallon ever said the words fake. But listen, from her actions, her demeanor, and what she said everything up to that point, okay? She said the girl was, well rehearsed. She was a pageant girl. She always had an answer ready. What does that mean, okay? It means that you're saying that my actions, my demeanor, my spirit is disingenuous, okay? What's the subtext to being disingenuous? Not genuine. What's the subtext to not genuine? Being fake, okay? So whether she said the word or not, the intended effect was there, right? So first of all, I have to deny your reality in terms of gaslighting, right? That's what Airris did in terms of that comment, right? Secondly, I have to make you feel that you're wrong in the situation for feeling the way that you do, okay? And how did he do that? When he basically looked at that lady and said, well, I've known her in terms of, I've known Fallon since I was, 4 months old. And, I like a woman that can basically stand on her own and basically take care of her own and, argue and basically, advocate for her own points and stuff. Gaslighting is a two-step process. I have to deny your reality and then make you feel like something is wrong with you, okay? So I think the saving grace in that whole scenario is that Airris was able to apologize in the current day, right, for the actions from the past, okay? And that's loosely what the reunion is for. It's to hash out our past issues, apologize, figure out a way through, and move on, okay? So good for Airris for apologizing, but Jazz, take it as you get it, okay? Because listen, you may get an apology from Airris, but one person you definitely ain't gonna get an apology from is Hack, okay? Airris is a hating ass cousin Fallon or Fallina, okay? Listen, you be waiting to the ends of the earth to get a damn apology from that woman because she's somewhere wringing her hands saying, I told you so, okay? Now let's move on to our next hot topic, baby, and let's talk about, Clint coming under fire for this whole slender athletic comment, right? And y'all know this was basically the bane of his existence during this damn, season in terms of him saying these words in that group format, which kind of got the other women riled up, okay? Now, I'm going to take this in a kind of a different direction, okay? I feel like Clint gets fire for these words in an unfair manner, okay? And before y'all throw tomatoes, let me just say this, okay? Clint gets in so much trouble behind those words because they were said in a group format, okay? But what people don't realize and what, Kevin, the producers, people don't, dredge up is that it's a contributory thing, okay? Clint saying those damn words to Gina and the group as a whole or whatever was based on words that Gina had told him in the private conversation, okay? So it seems like to me, Gina gets off scot-free in terms of Clint just coming out of nowhere with these comments when in reality, if Gina hadn't had that solo conversation with Clint about, her not liking redheads and not being as attracted to redheads, that wouldn't have put him in the mind state to make those comments to her in that group format, right? So it seems to me Clint drew the short straw in terms of, having the conversation with Gina one-on-one and then, having to display his emotions in a group format. I am not excusing his behavior at all, okay? I'm just saying that if you're going to tell one side of the story, tell the other side of the story, okay? Because context is important. Clint wasn't just out here trying to, spray every girl that's, a little bit bigger or a little bit thicker or not the slender or athletic type. It was literally as a response to inputs he had received from a solo conversation with Gina earlier, okay? So I understand the backlash in terms of, he should have never said it in a group format. I just think that if we're going to tell one side of the story, baby, let's tell the whole story, all right? Now, let's move on to our other updates, right? Because they kind of did this, reunion disjointed. It was, some hot topics, then it was some couple stuff, and then it was, the ladies sit down. So let's talk about this in pseudo order, right? And let's move on to Jasmine and Airris, right? Now, first off, and what bothered me is that Airris seemed to come across our screens, baby, and start dodging questions as it related to Jasmine and his attraction level, okay? Listen, when we are at the reunion, this is the come to Jesus moment. This is when you get everything off your chest. This is when you finally set, the story straight, the truth free, caw, and let the chips fall where the hell they may, okay? And I didn't like how he kind of came off like, he didn't want to say certain things because he didn't want to, the vitriol or, the actions that will come as a result of people seeing him tell his truth or the truth of the scenario, okay? But my feeling is this. If you've come to the reunion, this is where we review the season. We see, the good, the bad, the indifferent, and we try to find a way through, okay? So to me, being closed off and closed-minded and not trying to tell the entire story, it kind of does the people a disservice, okay? I understand that he was trying to kind of be sympathetic and try to advocate for Jasmine's best interest as well as the best interest of her family since, the season was pretty much spent in him not being attracted to her and letting that information fly free. But I just feel like you're burying the lead. We already know that the central issue between the two of y'all is that you weren't that attracted to her, okay? So what else could you really say at this point that would really make us look at you even more sideways than we're already looking at you? For me, I would have looked at Jasmine in that moment and I would have said, listen, this is the reunion. He's asking me a question. Are you comfortable if I share, a portion or the central tenets of the things that we've discussed in private, okay? If she says yes, then let it fly free. If she says no, then he did the right thing. So I don't know if they had a prior conversation before then when they decided not to talk about the full extent of it, but I just didn't like that, you're here at the reunion and you don't want to talk about the full entirety of it. Y'all drop down in the comments and let me know if you agree. Now let's move on to in terms of who Airris is attracted to. So Airris sat down with the experts and he basically said, he likes a Serena Williams type body and Zendaya was too small. Listen, I think the central issue in terms of Airris and this season is that Airris wasn't honest with himself as to what he truly wanted, okay? It just seems like you were disingenuous to yourself in terms of what you truly wanted in terms of body type. If you want a Serena-based body, a very built type woman. Okay, she got body, yaddy, 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 in the eternal words of what Meg Thee Stallion. Listen, then just say that. People are always so concerned with being so, politically correct. So, not trying to offend people. And it's good. Okay, it's good to be tactful. It's good to think your decisions and what you say, out in a good way. But to me, especially with a process like this, where you are literally putting your faith in the experts to find somebody that's best suited for you and what you want, it would have behooved you to just be honest, okay? Because if you look at it, if you said, Serena has an amazing body, Zendaya is too small, and they gave you Jasmine, who is someone right in the middle, they gave you what you asked for. So the central tenet is you weren't honest with exactly how far to Serena you truly wanted to be, okay? And so listen, if you gonna be a little bit improper, if you gonna say something that is a little bit, dodgy or whatever, it's best to say it in the beginning in terms of actually getting your point across in terms of the actual woman's body type that you're looking for versus doing yourself a disservice in the long run. Because what ends up happening, okay? You end up unhappy because you weren't honest with yourself in terms of the type you wanted, right? And then the person you get matched with ends up in a situation where she's not wanted because she could have never been matched with you based on what you truly wanted because you weren't honest in the first place, okay? okay? So it just seems like being a little bit improper, being a little bit selfish in the beginning would have basically carried you forward in a more fruitful way, and maybe you wouldn't have been matched with Jasmine. You would have been matched with somebody that was more your type, and the same goes for Jasmine in terms of being matched with somebody that really wanted her body type, because her body type is amazing, okay? She's my best dressed person in this damn episode, okay? So one thing you can't say about Jasmine, honey, is that she's not attractive, she's not beautiful, and she doesn't have a desirable body, okay? The lady is beautiful, but everybody is not for everybody. Be honest with what you want, okay? Now, moving on, we find out, based on one of these, I guess, y'all, I need to start watching these kickoff specials and these damn after parties, because apparently Airris slept with Jasmine's friend 10 days prior. And y'all wonder why I don't follow people on social media when I'm dating them, okay? Because I like to stay in my bubble of happiness, at least initially, okay? I don't want to have to unfollow you if we break up. I also don't want to figure out who we know in general. Who is this to you? Who is that to you? Who you been smushing? Who I've been smushing? It's too much, okay? Let me find out how I feel about you before I find out how you fit in my life and my family and friends' life, okay? And that was the problem, okay? Now listen, do I have a problem with him sleeping with her friend? Absolutely not, because at the time and place that it happened, he did not know you, okay? He knew he was going to get, married at first sight. He knew he was going through the process, but I didn't know who I was going to be matched with. And furthermore, I just hate to say this, but he was operating as the average dude, okay? Dudes do things sometimes just to do them. There's no rhyme or reason behind him. He's just being a man, as they say. And you see the difference. Women prepare for things, okay? Once she found out that she was going to do this process, she basically, turned everybody else away, focused on the process, tried to get her mind together, was with nobody else until she, got with Airris, got married at first sight, etc., right? The man can basically sleep with somebody 2 weeks prior and then get married 2 weeks later. Okay, listen, is it wrong in the grand scheme of things? In terms of a traditional marriage, perhaps, okay? Because in a traditional situation, you would have known your fiance, your intended spouse for a while. But in terms of married at first sight, I don't know if there are any real rules in terms of how you prepare. And I don't know if Airris hadn't slept with this girl, if that really would have been a factor in terms of how he and Jazz ended up, okay? But the interesting part about that was Jazz saying that the girl he slept with and her, in terms of her friend, their body types are completely different. So once again, Airris was not honest with his damn self, okay? Now let's move on to Airris's open marriage joke. So in a never before seen clip, we get a clip of Airris telling Jazz that, in 20, 30 years or whatever, we should have an open marriage or whatever, okay? And he says that he was joking. Listen, I've said this to y'all before. Airris says a lot of things, okay? And he claims that he's joking, but in my opinion, and in the eternal words of Tamar Braxton, that man is seriously joking, okay? There is some element of truth to what he's saying. There is not somebody that is so open and overt as it relates to sex, talking about sex parties, orgies, threesomes, group sex, talking about his taint, which is what he was talking about down to, the little conversation where he had the blindfold on. Listen, you don't go through all of those life experiences and have some semblance of proximity or some semblance of wishing to be a part of that community or have that community be some part of your life, okay? So we can go along with the story that he's joking, but in my opinion, he was seriously joking, okay? Because who the hell just sits there and says, in 20, 30, 40 years, let's have an open marriage just out the blue, okay? It was very random, and I understand he said that, when he gets tired, he just be firing off at the mouth, and Jasmine says, he needs to stick to 2 sentences, and once he gets to the third one is always a fool, okay? But I truly feel that he was seriously joking, okay? So y'all drop down in the comments and let me know if you think there was an element of truth to Airris's open marriage joke, okay? Now let's move on to Jasmine's friend Adrian, okay? And did she come off a little bit hot in terms of attacking Airris? Maybe, but the thing about it is, like I said, your family is supposed to be there to support you, right? And so if she came out hot, it's because she's been holding all of these things in as she, waited for the process to reach its logical conclusion, okay? Did she come off a little bit hot, a little bit aggressive? Perhaps, okay? But did it come from a good place? Absolutely, okay? Now listen, the central tenet and the thing that I took from the Jasmine's friend conversation in terms of Adrian was that she said, in so many words, Jasmine is a big old freak for the right person, okay? And I feel that in my bone marrow, okay? I honestly feel that Jazz is one of those people that, she's a lady in the streets and a freak in the sheets. There's a time and a place for everything. If she's comfortable with you, if she's familiar with you, if she loves you, honey, anything is fair game behind closed doors, okay? But listen, if her job is this cheerleading coach or whatever, mentoring these girls, she got this damn dog, breeding business, I can't be that person in terms of that sexual based person in my normal life because I'm messing up a bag and I'm messing up my money being it, okay? But listen, don't nobody want to buy a dog from the lady that acting like a dog, in person and behind closed doors, okay? So Jasmine said, you can't have it both ways, okay? I have to be a lady in these streets to keep getting my coins and I could be a freak in the sheet. So I really appreciated, Jazz basically going up for her friend. Adrian going up for her friend. And basically giving us that, lead in that Jazz could have been that person for Airris if he had only facilitated an environment with which she felt comfortable to be that in terms of the attraction, which never happened, right? Now let's move on to this little lesser point because Jasmine Airris was just giving us a whole bunch of nuggets, right? Jazz was talking about her life after in terms of what she gonna do next. And she was talking about, she thinking about opening a spa. Y'all, wasn't it not 2 weeks ago when we was watching Jazz and what's her name, Kirsten, sit down in front of our face talking about they gonna have a party bus business, okay? What happened to the party bus? That's what I want to know, okay? Don't tell us you finna start a party bus activity, party bus business, and then next thing you know, all of a sudden, you about to, create a spa for the people and you're gonna be doing facials, extractions, and skincare, okay? The math is not math, and okay, what happened with this tour bus business? Did y'all, crunch the numbers and find out it wasn't feasible? Like, if you gonna follow the people after decision day, at least keep the damn story consistent, okay? Because it's the first time we hearing about this damn spa, okay? Y'all drop down in the comments and let me know if you agree. And last but not least, let's just talk about their dating life afterwards. So really interesting and really nice to find out that Jasmine's friend boy has now become her man, okay? So we have a happy ending. I think after the season Jazz had in terms of being with this person that wasn't attracted to her, made her feel a certain way, she kind of reached the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow in terms of finding this man from her past that, resurfaced and is showing her the appreciation, the attraction, and the love that she was missing in her damn marriage. So good for her. But listen, we got to call a spade in terms of Airris, okay? Because Kevin asked a question I wanted to know in terms of what happened with that girl that you dated on camera, on our face, that apparently went through the process but didn't get matched, okay? And didn't I tell y'all that situation was contrived, okay? I said the girl don't even meet the minimum specifications in terms of what Airris wanted in terms of body type, okay? So stop playing in our faces with these damn contrived ass relationships and contrived ass scenarios, okay? Because in that damn occurrence when it was at the date, I'm looking forward to us having a second date. Then down to Kevin, oh no, we didn't have a second date. Contrived scenario, okay? Airris, you need to work on yourself for a while as you plow through Nashville. I can't believe I just said that. It's fine. Listen, I'm getting messy, okay? Let me move off of Jasmine and Airris, right? And let's move on to Nicole and Chris. And let's talk about Kevin doubting the relationship from the beginning, right? Listen, what was interesting to find out is that me and Kevin was on the same damn page from the beginning, okay? Because y'all know I didn't watch the little kickoff special and stuff, but apparently Kevin thought that, Nicole's crazy was going to be the ending of their damn relationship, okay? And I still do, but listen, I think the saving grace in the whole scenario is that, Chris can handle her level of crazy. So it was just interesting that someone other than me had the same scenario in terms of Nicole burning this man to the ground with her, idiosyncrasies, okay? Now, in terms of this whole ride or die doggy mom, it's the whole scenario when Chris was crying over the dogs and how they were all going to fit in the apartment and him being separated from it. What I have learned from this season and about dog ownership in general is, y'all, I just must be emotionally stunted as it relates to the love for the dogs, okay? I've had a miniature schnauzer for 13 years. I love him down. He's a part of the family. I really care for him. But I can honestly say I've never cried over the dog, okay? Has anything traumatic happened? He's had surgery. He's had a few, he got into a fight with a cat one time and he lost, okay? Came back, honey. Sorry as I don't know what. Sad with his head drooping, covered in a whole bunch of stuff. That's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother day. But I've never cried over the dog, okay? And listen, I'm of the belief that if I was in a situation where I couldn't have my dog with me because of the rules of the apartments for 2 months, I'm not going to cry over it, okay? I have so many things in my life that I could cry over first before I cry over, not having the dog with me. And I understand some people's dogs are their children, but to me, we're never going to see eye to eye on that whole Chris crying over the dog scenario, okay? For me, I'm not going to cry over the dog, honey. I got family or friends that could take care of the dog. There's boarders that could take the dog, or we could, send him down to a doggy spot for 2 months, honey. There are solutions that can be had, okay? But tying it back to the matter at hand, Nicole was a ride or die for Chris in that moment, and I really felt like that's what helped build their relationship because he felt he could be vulnerable in a space where certain women and me would have ran for the damn hills. Okay, so listen, they was equally yoked and they was for each other in that moment, and that was the basis of their love story, right? Now, they talked a lot in terms of the Nicole and Chris story, but what I still surmise from it is that Nicole is still a boiling pot of crazy, okay? She's a boiling pot of crazy, and sometimes the lid boils and the lid hits the ceiling, okay? But it's okay because Chris can handle her level of crazy, and so that's what I mean by being equally yoked, okay? So in conjunction with Chris, Nicole, I still say you need to run, not walk to a therapist's office because your husband is able to take care of certain items of your well-being, but your entirety of your mental health should not be his full responsibility, okay? And I ain't hear nothing in your long diatribe about heading down to the therapist's office, so hopefully that's just something you glossed over. Now let's move on to this kid convo. And apparently, y'all, they still really haven't had the talk regarding children, and for some people, it's not a big thing. For other people, it's a thing that can really break you up. And I just feel like you should have the kid conversation sooner rather than later because you kind of waste time with somebody who, at the end of the day, doesn't want the child. You understand? Because like if I spend umpteen years with you, let's just say even if it's on the lower end, 2-3 years with you, okay, you've met my family, I've met your family, you're indoctrinated in my life, I'm indoctrinated in yours, we live together, we have property together, and now comes a day where I want kids and you're still sometimesy about it, okay? We could have literally cut this off at the pass if we had the conversation earlier. So I don't like telling people what to do in their relationship, contrary to popular belief or whatever, but I always have an opinion, okay? And it seems to me, I do believe that they will have children, but I do believe it's a conversation that Nicole is going to have to be coaxed into, right? Because she seems very, 50% in, 50% out about it. Like she could take or leave having a child, and it seems like this is something that Chris truly wants in terms of having 2 children, a boy and a girl. So all I'm going to say on it is have the conversation sooner rather than later, and you'll probably save yourself some heartache at the end of the day, okay? And last but not least, let's talk about this dad endorsement. Y'all, I go up for Nicole's dad, and I think it's great that he has embraced Chris, embraced the other cast members. And it was really sweet just seeing him talking to Kevin on that thing, saying that, he's looked up to Kevin or looked to Kevin as a great person for years, and meeting him was, amazing. And he looks great up close and stuff. And basically knowing all the names of her new friends in terms of the other wives and the other husbands, I just thought that, it was a beautiful dad moment, a beautiful full circle family moment from someone who was a bit skeptical about the process to begin with. And now, he's embraced Chris with open arms, and they seem to be on a really good path. Okay. Now let's move on to the ladies sitting down, right? They had the ladies sit down with Kevin and, the whole round table format. And let's talk about the ladies rallying around Jazz. Y'all, what a beautiful moment, okay? Because, listen, I always say, if you don't come out of Married at First Sight with a spouse or a newness of self or a renewed relationship with yourself or untold amounts of promotion for your damn business, hey, Gina, or a new group of friends, okay, at least you can come out with something, okay? And it seems like what Jazz came out of the situation with is definitely a newness of self in terms of being able to advocate for herself, but also a solid group of friends that support her, okay? And, I did feel that in that segment where she was talking to Airris, she was kind of putting on this air. Like, I'm not saying she's not over what happened to her because, not really grief, but going through this process is kind of like a process in and of itself, right? And you it comes in waves at times in terms of how you feel about yourself, how you feel that you did as you look back and forth on the season. And sitting next to Airris, she kind of has to put on this air of confidence, right? Not saying that she's not confident. I'm just saying you probably go into another level of confidence because you don't want this person to see you sweat, okay? But when she was with her girls, she was able to break down. She was able to say how she truly felt in the moment, and they were able to rally around her and really support her and let her know that she's amazing and they love her, okay? So really, really great that Jazz not only got a newness of self through the process, but she also got a group of friends that really support her and understand, what she's been through. A lesser point, let's talk about the ladies reacting to the men getting back to having sex, honey, blowing off the cobwebs and what's his name? Clint calling NASA to approve a rocket launch. Listen, I told y'all 2-3 weeks ago that scene basically made me disgusted. And listen, it hasn't changed. Honey, it makes me dry heave. Every time I think about it, honey, I just get nauseous, okay? Listen, just seeing that scene back, and I understand it was just dudes being dudes and dudes just talking about stuff, but I don't know. There's just something cringy about them talking about it. And then, listen, the women had the same reaction that I had in the moment. So I thought that maybe, after a while seeing it, I would feel different about it. Turns out I feel the exact same way. Honey, the dry heave of it all. Okay, listen, move it on. Lesser point, okay? The ladies seem to want Kirsten back with Shaq or a Shaq type. I think this is a scenario where your friends want the best for you and they see the good qualities, but they don't necessarily see the confusion and the bad qualities that this person brings, okay? And we'll get into this more with the Kirsten and Shaq breakdown, but, I think it's great that they're advocating for, a Shaq type if it's not actually going to be Shaq, okay? Because, listen, once you're embarrassed to that level on national TV behind this thing, I have a saying, okay, and it's wherever or however you act up is how you have to apologize, okay? The only way, shape, or form I could ever see, Kirsten re-accepting Shaq back into her life is if he apologized in the same manner that he disrespected her in terms of saying no on decision day, in terms of, the embarrassment of it all, okay? How you act up is how you have to apologize, okay? Personally, I don't do backseas and relationship remixes. They've never worked for me. Can they work for other people? Perhaps. But, I think the saving grace of the situation is even if the ladies say that they want Kirsten back with Shaq, they recognize that she may not necessarily want that, and a Shaq-like type may be more along the lines of what she needs, okay? So now, y'all, let's move on to, let's do Gina and Clint, right, honey? We rolling through these things. There was so much we had to go through, y'all. We going long today. It's okay. It's okay. We got to get through it. Okay, so Gina and Clint. Let's talk about them being a match on paper and not in life. Listen, much like Nicole and Chris, they talked a lot, but we all came back to the same conclusion, okay? Just because you are a match on paper with a person, you have all these commonalities, you support one another, you both are business-minded, you both love animals, doesn't mean you are a match based down to real life as it relates to the romantic piece. And that's the piece that they always, seemed to not be able to get, okay? Gina disrespected him with that redhead comment. Clint disrespected her with that whole slender athletic comment. Gina decided that was the hill she wanted to die on in terms of what she wanted from the relationship. And it just seemed to decline from there. And they went along to get along for the remainder of the time, okay? But just because you're a match on paper does not mean you're a match down to a romantic life or in life in general, right? But maybe you can just support each other. Maybe he's meant to be in her life in a friendship capacity at this time, and that's okay, okay? Now listen, Kevin continually talking about, y'all like each other, y'all have these commonalities, y'all have a good time, y'all have a good rapport. Why shouldn't you be together? Everybody that you have a good rapport with doesn't mean that you're supposed to be with that damn person, okay? So the logic is not logicking for me, okay? And it just seems wrong to kind of force two people together that clearly don't want to be together in that way. Although, as we've discussed, if Gina was with it, I think Clint would be right there with it, okay? But Clint has kind of, relegated himself or been relegated to the friend zone because that's what Gina is giving at this time, all right? Now let's move on to our second point. And let's talk about this whole possibility of a second chance down the road, okay? Is it possible? Maybe. I told y'all, several reviews ago, I see the whole Clint and Gina scenario being one that, maybe they're in each other's lives peripherally or tangentially for years. And then Gina looks up one day and she's like, you've been here the entire time. And she wants to make it work, okay? But that's a big maybe based on Gina not having nobody, Clint not having nobody, and them being in the space to want to pursue something down the road. So it's a big if, okay? As Gina said and as Clint said, never say never. But for now, I just think that y'all being in each other's lives in a friendship-based capacity is what's best, okay? And trying to put anything extra on it is more to appease others around you versus what you need for yourself, okay? And last point on Gina and Clint, y'all. Clint thought she came on for the salon. Kevin coaxed Clint into basically saying this, right? Now listen, from the outside looking in, it would look like Gina did a whole horde of promotion for her salon this entire time. So one could say, she came on here for this salon. She came on here for promotion. She came on here for her business. Y'all, I don't believe that in any stretch of the imagination. I think Gina did what we all would have done in the scenario, okay? If I can't get the spouse, if I can't get the husband, if I can't get the intended effect out of the scenario, then the least I can do, honey, is get some damn promotion for this damn business I'm trying to build, okay? What did Gina do? She pivoted, okay? That's what you do. You either languish in the scenario and say, woe is me. You try to, work it out, go along to get along, or you pivot to something else. And it seems in Gina's case, she did a combination of the two. She went along to get along, and in doing that, created a friendship with Clint, okay? And she also pivoted the actions in terms of, I'm building this business. Let me use this as a forum with which to promote the salon. I don't see anything wrong with it because what do we say about Gina to this day now? Whenever we hear of Gina, we think of the salon, okay? So listen, mission accomplished. If I can't get a damn husband out of the situation, at least I can get untold hours of promotion for my damn business. Good job, Gina, okay? Good job. I ain't got no problems with it. And y'all, last but not least, baby, let's talk about Kirsten and Shaq, okay? Now, this was the cliffhanger that they basically left us on, right? And let's talk about them just being on different pages. So nothing new here, okay? Shaq spent the majority of the relationship trying to meet Kirsten's expectations, okay? Trying to meet the finish line, trying to find, the finish line of wherever she kept moving the goalpost in terms of what she wanted, how she would be attracted, how she would let her walls down, okay? And the thing about it is this. You can pursue somebody for so long, okay? But at a certain point, you're going to look up and you have to decide whether the juice was worth the squeeze, okay? And the central issue between Kirsten and Shaq is that Shaq did all this pursuing of her, and then he looked up one day and he said, I don't think I've gotten what I need to get out of the scenario, okay? Period, hard stop, okay? And that's that's an honest conversation. There's nothing wrong with that. I think we all have been in situations where we pursued something. It doesn't have to be a person. It could be a thing. It could be you wanted to buy this bag. You want to buy this car. You want to have these clothes. And then once you got it, you were like, yo, did I really need this? Was it really worth it? You know, does this really spark joy? Okay. And I think his confusion and them being on different pages is just that he woke up by the end of it and realized that this is not necessarily something that he wanted. And by the time that, you know, she realized that he was pulling away, she decided to try to hold on to him. Okay. So they seem to be eternally on different pages. Okay. Him pursuing her running away, him pulling away, her running after him. Okay. That's where it begins and where it ends. Okay. Now, the central tenet I'm getting from them is that Shaq is confused and Kirsten is hurt. Okay. Now let's talk about that. I love talking with y'all in the comments, and I love, you know, the congregation that we built together, y'all, because y'all just help expand my mind view and my world view and my situation, you know, view as it relates to the show sometimes, okay? And I initially thought that Kirsten was so hurt because, you know, she was heartbroken over this man. But what y'all helped me realize in the comments, baby, is that she was not, you know, in love with this man. She was not heartbroken over this man. She was embarrassed behind this man, okay? And it's an embarrassment on many levels. It's an embarrassment for me. It's an embarrassment for my family. It's an embarrassment for my friends. It's an embarrassment for how dare you leave me after I've, you know, given you the keys to the kingdom in terms of finally opening up to you and finally letting my walls down. It's the embarrassment of being left, okay? So she's hurt. And that's why when, you know, the whole thing happened down to decision day, she ain't want nothing to do with him. She basically cut him off. I didn't have a problem with that, okay? Because listen, in the eternal words of Portia Williams, when you do something to me, you don't get to choose my reaction, okay? So Kirsten's hurt. Now, did she get over it to a certain extent? Yes, but is there still those hurt emotions there? Absolutely, okay? Now listen, Shaq's confusion is the piece that's sending me, okay? Because listen, Shaq, I rode for you on decision day in terms of you saying that you made a selfish decision, in terms of you looked at what had happened over the 8 weeks, how you could proceed, how you could not proceed, and you decided after viewing all of that, that Kirsten wasn't the one for you. What you truly wanted, you weren't getting, and you weren't getting support out of the scenario, okay? And you made a selfish decision, all right? Nothing's wrong with a selfish decision if it's right for you, all right? Now listen, the part I can't deal with, baby, is if you are going to stay 10 toes down in a decision, stay 10 toes down in the decision. This episode, we find out, baby, that behind your decision to be selfish was a damn prophet. Okay, so I'm thinking a prophet down to the church, a spiritual-based prophet down to, you know, Airris and the Num Yo Horenge Kyo, you know, something like that, like something I can understand. No, this is a prophet down to your PhD program. Listen, Shaq, I'm all about strengthening an argument, okay? And if you are in the education space, okay, if you are trying to, you know, instill and inform and educate young minds, okay, the central tenet of that is if you have an argument, you want to strengthen your case. Saying that you basically took an input from a prophet down to your PhD program, not the church, not, you know, a spiritual advisor, not somebody like a, you know, hell, even a psychic would have been better, okay, than to some damn prophet, some damn person on your same level in your PhD program. That only helped to weaken your argument for me, okay? Now listen, to your credit, you said that you didn't take the words of the prophet as the sole reason as to why you said no on decision day, okay? You said, but you used it as a factor in your decision-making process, all right? Now listen. The second piece where you lost me is then after that you say that the reason you said no on decision day was because you didn't think you were good enough for her or could make Kirsten happy. Shaq, if you can't stay 10 toes down in a reason as to why you said no on decision day, how do you expect any of us to understand, okay? Because you know, on decision day, it was a selfish decision. It was, I looked at the scenario and this is what I wanted. And it was entirely based on me and how I saw my life. Now down to the reunion, I didn't think I was good enough for her and I was acting in her best interest. Did you make a selfish decision or did you make a selfless decision? Okay. And until you figure out that level of confusion, I don't know how you expect any of us to understand it. Okay. Whether you expect you to understand it, Kirsten to understand it, Kevin to understand it, anybody watching, all the church members, we can't understand something. Listen, if you more confused than us, how the hell you expect us to understand anything? Okay. Was it a selfish decision or a selfless decision? And until you figure that out, honey, stay off our damn screens with this confusion. Stop hemming and hawing about whether or not y'all still have the possibility to work this out in the future, because Kirsten, run for the damn hills, okay? What you don't invite into your life is confusion, okay? And it just seems like Shaq don't know what the hell he wants, don't know why he said no on decision day, and wants to drag you down with him. And on top of that, that man has relocated to Austin, Texas, okay? Listen, I was bad at geography. I don't know how far Austin, Texas is from Nashville, but suffice to say, if it's states away, then let that man stay away, okay? And y'all, I think that's really all I want to talk about on this episode. So if you liked what I said, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on all social media at DatDamnDasher. And until next time, y'all, bring on more drama in part 2 of this damn reunion. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.